Back in 2017, I found myself reluctantly agreeing to join the Pioneer Trail hike, a multi-day trek through the dense Oregon forest. Despite the supposedly scenic route, a deep-seated unease gnawed at me, a feeling my gut seemed to understand better than I did. It wasn't nerves or anxiety, but a palpable sense that something was off. As we set off on our hike, the forest was eerily silent, as if it was holding its breath in anticipation of something sinister. The sun was hidden behind thick grey clouds, and the air was heavy with the scent of damp leaves and pine sap. The only sounds were our footsteps on the gravel and the occasional awkward joke from the older teens, adding to the growing sense of dread that hung in the air like a heavy fog. We hiked for hours, 10 miles that felt like 20. At our breakpoint, I sat on a mossy rock and opened a granola bar, but I couldn't eat. The persistent feeling of being watched, like a pair of unseen eyes boring into my back, wouldn't dissipate. It was as if the very air around me was alive with unseen malevolence, intensifying my unease and paranoia with each passing moment. That first night, we stayed in a ranger's cabin, wooden, old, creaky, and half swallowed by the forest. It had no electricity, just battery lanterns and cold running water from a rust-stained sink. My bunk faced a window that looked out into the woods. I remember pulling the curtain shut and muttering, "Nope." After dinner, we did the usual campfire songs and ghost stories. Ironically, that part I liked, but later, back in the cabin, my stomach turned sour from those spicy Takis I'd stupidly inhaled. I grabbed my flashlight and snuck outside to use the latrine. That's when I heard it, the first crack. A single branch snapped deep in the woods, then another. It's not random, not like a squirrel or deer. It sounded deliberate, heavy. Something big was walking out there. When I heard the first crack, my heart skipped a beat. It wasn't a random sound like a squirrel or a deer. It was deliberate and heavy, and it sounded like something big was walking out there. Then came more cracks, closer now, one after another, rhythmic and slow, like footsteps. I pulled myself to the window and parted the curtain just a sliver. My breath caught in my throat. About 30 feet from the cabin, a figure materialized between the trees. It was tall, over 6 feet easily, and thin in a way that defied nature. Its limbs were too long, its posture too rigid, as if it was struggling to imitate something human. But the most terrifying part? Its eyes. 2 searing red orbs burned from its gaunt face. They didn't glow like animal eyes reflecting light, as if they were alive, pulsating with a sinister energy. I instinctively ducked down, my whole body trembling with fear. My mind raced with the question, what the hell did I just see? But the worst part? Its eyes. 2 searing red orbs burned from its gaunt face. They didn't glow like animal eyes reflecting light. They emitted light as if they were alive, pulsating with a sinister energy. My body instinctively reacted, trembling with fear. My mind raced with the question, what the hell did I just see? I shook my bunkmate awake, Jeremy. "Leo? What?" he mumbled, clearly disoriented, mirroring my fear and uncertainty. The fear of the unknown was palpable in the air, thick and suffocating, as we both struggled to grasp what we had just witnessed. "I need you to look. I saw something out there." He sighed but leaned toward the window. "There's nothing." He froze. His voice stopped cold. We didn't say another word. We slid back under our sleeping bags, shut the blinds, and prayed it wouldn't come closer. But it did. The snapping branches returned, louder now. The floorboards creaked. Something was circling the cabin. We heard soft, scraping sounds, fingernails on wood. At one point, something brushed the outside wall behind my bunk, slow and deliberate. I held my breath so long I nearly passed out. There was a low, growling hum at one point. Jeremy clutched his flashlight but didn't turn it on. We both knew light might draw it closer. It stayed outside for what felt like hours. Then, silence. At dawn, it was gone. Outside, branches were broken everywhere. Deep, uneven footprints pressed into the muddy ground. Too long, too narrow, not like anything we'd ever seen. One counselor said it might have been a sick elk. Another suggested a prank by local teens. But none of it made sense. And the prints? They just stopped mid-trail as it vanished. That night, no one slept well. Even the counselors seemed tense. Around midnight, a girl from Cabin B screamed. Said she saw something watching her from the tree line, something tall, pale, and crawling. Jeremy and I never told anyone the whole truth. They wouldn't believe us. Hell, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself. The last night before we left, I swear I heard breathing outside my window. Not wind, not snoring. Breathing, shallow, hungry. I stayed perfectly still until sunrise. When I looked again, scratches had appeared on the windowsill. Deep, fresh. Since that summer, I haven't hiked again. I won't go near the Pioneer Trail, because whatever we saw, it wasn't an animal. It wasn't human. It was watching us, and it still is. Sometimes I feel it, even now, years later, like something followed me back. It waits, just beyond the tree line, just outside the window, waiting for me to come back. But I never will, and it still is. Sometimes I feel it, even now, years later, like something followed me back. It waits, just beyond the tree line, just outside the window, waiting for me to come back. But I never will. I made that decision that night, and it's a promise I intend to keep.